act as sort of like a bridge between the department and the students, and we try to represent student interests to the department and of course help the department with its various events such as this one. So the relationship obviously goes the other way as well, and the department helps us spread word of our internal events and initiatives among the undergrad body. So most of PSSA's events function as like a means to serve the student body and to ensure that our constituency of almost 800 students have the ability to grow their professional skills and explore their academic interests. And we also have a variety of teams, including like UBC Moot Court, UBC Model Parliament, and the Journal of Political Studies. And also we recently launched our mentorship program for the year. And the information is available in the PSSA's weekly newsletters, which you can sign up for at ubc.pssa.com. We hire during the summer and in early September, and also general membership is available throughout the year. So if you're interested in political science, I think it would be a great start to check us out. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Alexandra. Just before I turn it over to our department head, I'm recording this just because we'll put it up on the website for students that weren't able to make it tonight. So if you don't want yourself on a video that almost no one will ever watch, then feel free to turn off your camera. But if you want to be, increase your internet presence, then keep it on. So here's our head of the department, Professor Richard Price.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Alexandra, for your wonderful introduction. I certainly encourage all the students here to look into the PSSA. It's really a vibrant student organization. It puts on lots of terrific events. Just want to say a few words about why I think you should study political science. Trying to sort of put together views of a number of our colleagues, been in the department for a long time, and what it might bring to you, but also what you might bring coming out of political science. Studying political science can truly be a transformative experience that'll impact the course of how you view and engage with the world going forward. We've heard that time and time again with students who have ended up being political science majors and taking our courses. So yes, I'm saying poli-sci will change your life, and I'm not exaggerating in a lot of cases. But I also want to say that you can be the ones who end up changing the lives of many others after studying political science. And then third, there's lots of other kinds of career opportunities whose doors are opened by political science degree. I'll say just a few words about. So why do I think this can be a transformative experience for you? Well, in political science, our instructors over the last decade have been the highest rated among any comparator departments in the Faculty of Arts. And we take a lot of pride in that. We have an incredibly committed group of instructors amongst our faculty. They love to teach. They put an enormous amount of time and effort into it. And I think it shows in the results, because I take great pride as head of the department in seeing how well our instructors do and what great learning experiences that students like you have in our courses. We have lots of innovative teachers in our department who do things like the flipped classroom model, where you're doing all kinds of activities in the class time itself with your fellow students. Interdisciplinary courses with the Faculty of Science and Engineering and Biology and Genetics. Community engaged learning, so a number of people have their students doing internships with community organizations as part of your coursework. Trips abroad to places like Ethiopia, Vienna, throughout Asia in recent years to attend global economic and political conferences. That's all part of the course experience you can have just by signing up for some of our courses. And many of those, the exposure you get to new ideas and to people and networks and things is just, it really is phenomenal. Another one of the central contributions of studying political science, though, that I know me and my colleagues take very seriously, is that it's really a primary way in which young, intelligent people like yourselves can help get prepared to be responsible citizens in our societies and your societies back home if you're from other places. And this means being responsible local citizens or national citizens in your other communities, and also global citizens. And I've, studied politics a very long time, since I was your age. I won't date myself, but it's been a long time. And I can really say that there's never been a time where there's been a greater need for educated, ethical, responsible citizens who are intelligent, knowledgeable, and informed about what it means to hold power and to hold power to account and how to do so. It's never been more important than now. We're in incredibly tumultuous times with respect to the status of global democracy, which has seen a reversal in almost a third of the world's population living in countries that have seen backtracking from democracy and more towards autocracy. You'll learn what those terms mean in really rich senses in your courses if you haven't already going forward. All kinds of major countries, India, the United States, Turkey, Philippines, Poland, Hungary, and so on. We've seen these kinds of backsliding from democracy. How do you stop that? Well, you stop it with informed and engaged citizens who know what it means to live in a democracy versus more autocratic systems and the value of democracy. But that takes education and studying these processes around the world. There's never been more need for creative, determined, and committed minds in the cause of such efforts, and especially those attached to activists for dealing with such problems. The other major looming problem, of course, facing us is climate change and associated problems. Global pandemic, of course, has faced us all this year and in really unprecedented ways for most of us. It's not just the problems too, though, that you'll be better equipped to help tackle in years going forward, but there's also unprecedented opportunities and opportunities for really positive change, some of which we can't even anticipate right now. I mean, think of the looming transformative changes with artificial intelligence, most of which we really just have a hard time of sketching out, but some of you really creative minds will likely be able to do so. And figure out which way the world is going and how best to capitalize on those opportunities. Some of the most powerful people in the world have been political science students in their undergraduate days. Past President US Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, who was almost president. I guess if there's somebody who could say, I won and have some legitimacy to it, even though they lost, it's probably her. And she won by over 3 million votes, unlike a current sitting president who's still claiming anyone. Other people like Christine Lagarde, who was chairman and managing director of the International Monetary Fund, and so on. Some of the world's biggest movers and shakers studied political science, and that prepared them for what was to come. Closer to home, we have the only female Prime Minister of Canada who studied political science. Anybody happen to know who that is? Anybody know? Any of you students, speak up if you know. Oh, there we go. Hudson and Kevin, Will, Adam, well done. Kim Campbell. Not only did she study political science, but she studied political science here at UBC for her master's degree. Other influential Canadians, Lloyd Axworthy, Stéphane Dion, who were ministers of foreign or global affairs, all studied political science. So this is where a lot of the world's movers and shakers get their start. Why not you? I really don't see any reason why. Short of that, not all of you are going to become foreign ministers or prime ministers or what have you. Our alumni are in an astonishing array of professions. In the private sector as consultants and polling organizations, all levels of government, local, city governments, indigenous communities, nonprofit organizations, provincial governments, federal governments, international organizations like the United Nations, tech industries. Just met with an alumni who's vice president for Microsoft for all of Western Canada, studied undergraduate political science here at UBC. So there's an astonishing array of careers that studying political science can open you up to. And as I've talked to our alumni, they're interested in students like you who have transferable skills, because the tech skills that you may learn and people think you need to know right now, those have an incredibly short shelf life. They're gone, often in a very short period of time. People want intelligent, flexible minds who are able to solve problems and engage in critical thinking. This is what our alumni keep telling me again and again, whether they're working in marketing, digital technology, what have you. So this is an area where employers are hungry for bright minds, and I really encourage you to take our courses with that in mind as well. Also encourage you to loop back to Alexandra, because the PSSA is putting on an event coming up. You may want to say more about that, Alexandra, on some of the career options and skills and things. Often the PSSA also we work with to put on an alumni event where you can meet people in different careers and network with some of them as well and get ideas for your own careers. So lots to think about, and thanks for attending today, and hope you come away with as much enthusiasm for majoring in poli-sci from your side as a student as we do as faculty and staff. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Dick. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity here to tell us what you're thinking about when it comes to choosing a major. And based on your responses, I will change my presentation on the fly to satisfy them all. Just by way of the introduction I should have done earlier, so Dick helpfully provided us sort of the big question of why political science. I'm going to talk briefly about sort of the intermediate layer, which is sort of what exactly to expect from your political science degree if you choose to major in poli-sci. And I'll say something briefly about the honors program. And then our undergraduate program advisor, Amy Basir, will talk about the nitty-gritty of how to apply, what you need to apply, when, where, and all that. I'm going to let the Mentimeter thing that you're maybe entering your information in now go for a bit, but I'll start by saying that there's sort of 4 things that I think are particularly compelling about the curriculum a poli-sci major gets. The first is courses that will help you understand the world and its changing nature. And to what Dick was saying about technology, part of the value here is the foundational knowledge that you can acquire that will always be relevant to examining contemporary issues. So things like when governments make decisions, what factors drive those, when and why? How do institutions structure the behavior of people within them, like a certain set of parliamentary rules might structure how particular politicians behave, or campaign finance rules and so on. How do citizens make up their mind about political issues? If you're interested in pursuing a particular policy outcome, there's different means to do it, right? There's one sort of by accessing elites and lobbying elected officials. Another would be by trying to persuade the public that your idea is the right one. And those sort of basic, among other foundational ideas, can help you answer the specific questions of the day whenever that happens to be, whether it's one that I just heard on a podcast, which is when you look at variation in adherence to lockdowns across countries, one factor might be how generous the income supports from government are. And if they're absent, maybe it's more difficult to get citizens to buy in. Electoral reform in Canada, why hasn't that happened? Why are some countries more aggressive on climate change action than others? How does power affect knowledge? So the people who have power tend to control, to some extent, what we conceive of to be facts and truth, and to consider those difficult questions. And you can do that through a range of really interesting courses. Some that I just looked over include the politics of international development, a course on democracy and retreat, courses on civil war and the politics of terrorism. There's actually a course on the politics of outer space, which I didn't realize there was politics of outer space, but there is, I guess. You could learn about that. Environmental politics, theorizing settler colonialism and indigenous politics, lots of regional courses on different parts of the world, and a new course on professional skills for political science majors, which aims to sort of provide you with some of the tangible skills you'll need to get your career started quickly, including, you know, presentation, writing an op-ed, writing a policy brief, these sorts of things. I'm going to switch the screen now. So that was one. Another feature of the course offerings we have is that it's really broad. There's political theory has a whole wing of it that is just interested in normative questions about how the world ought to work and how we can figure that out, all the way to much more narrow empirical questions like a statistics course or a course on how to use experiments within public opinion surveys. And so there's a really broad range of topics and analytical perspectives. Dick talked briefly about various differences in instructional style and course structure. And that host of different options, I think, allows you to choose the courses that most interest you, or the design of structure of courses that are most compelling to you, but also the ones that you think might be most relevant to your potential careers. I won't say too much about experiential learning because Dick did mention that, but there's lots of opportunities to do something outside the classroom or even in the classroom. Let's see if I do that. You can't see it. This is from a course that we had last, I don't know, it was last fall, so the time of the federal election. This is a website built by a group of 5 or 6 students, and they did a bunch of content analysis of newspaper articles about the election. And you see they've got these cool visuals and infographics and stuff, and this is the sort of thing that I think is pretty cool to be, like, leave a course and be like, hey, I did that. And B, you can show employers or your grandma and say, look, I did this thing, whereas most people, it's a tougher sell to get your grandma to read the research paper. Back to PowerPoint. And then, one thing that we're doing increasingly is thinking about how we can have courses that are academically rigorous and focus on academic questions, but yet also provide you with some of the skills that you may find useful in your career. And that includes some basic statistics. Certainly the key is communication, right? You're going to be writing a lot of papers and policy briefs and op-eds and things that will allow you to improve your capacity to communicate, primarily in written terms, but sometimes with oral presentations. Working in teams, I know we don't all tend to like group work. I certainly, as a student, was hesitant because of the concerns over grades and stuff like that. But a fact of life is that most people work in teams. So developing those skills is an important thing. Although, again, you can look through syllabi of our courses and decide if it's really not for you, then you don't have to take that course in most cases. Dick did talk about some of the alumni. We're increasingly engaged with them to try and get a better sense of what our students need, but also to create connections for you guys. There's lots of interesting positions here. I'm assuming you guys can see them. One of our former poli-sci honors grads just was elected to the BC legislature, but there's lots of people in political, who are political staff. So you work for a party or an elected official. Those are great jobs because there's lots of young people in them, and you get, it's one of those professions where the length of which you've been there doesn't matter as much. It's just how good are you at the job, and you can really move through the ranks pretty quickly. But there's lots of, I don't want to restate what Dick said. So there's lots of ways you can use this degree. We also give students, this is new of about 2 years ago, a sort of appendix or an additional transcript, which we call the rich transcripts. And these are created uniquely to you. So this person, this is a real one, took a certain set of courses, and when we aggregate all the stuff that they were required to do in those courses, it comes up with this little rich transcript that you can, again, use to, flush out your resume or your cover letter, or to just, put in front of interested people hiring you or whatever, that it just provides a little more detail to the traditional transcript, which we think is pretty thin in terms of, you've done all this work, you've spent all this time. It'd be nice to be able to demonstrate it in a more concrete way. And if all of that is not compelling to you, wait till you see this app that we made for courses. You can find it if you go to our homepage and just click the obvious stuff, you'll find the app. Let me see if I can show it to you. So it works on your phone and even wants to be on your phone, but basically it's just better than going to the university website and clicking through 3 links to see if the course is available or whatever. So you can search by level for courses. You can search by, say you took a course with Andrew Owen, that was by chance, but say you took a course with Anna Yurkovic and you were like, oh, that was great. You can click here and see what she's offering. Say you need a seminar and it's got to be on a Wednesday. You don't have to click through all that stuff. You can see these are all our seminars. There's both terms here. These are all the seminars we offer. So we're pretty excited about it because we think based on a few students telling us how challenging the registration process can be, that hopefully this will streamline it a bit. And now I'm going to pass things over to Amy, who can tell you a little more. Oh, well, I guess before I do that, actually, I'll just say briefly, let's try stop sharing. Just briefly, we do also have an honors program that admits about, and Amy will, everything I say that's wrong, Amy will correct in a moment, but we admit between 16 and 20 students each year. It's currently a 2-year program. So in your 3rd year, the main thing is a 1 semester, 6 credit course that's just you and your cohort of honors students that goes into, main big political science ideas in a detailed seminar. And then the 4th year, you write you have a year-long course where you write a thesis, and that's an original research project that yields sort of a 35-page paper, but is usually much more robust than you would write for an individual course. The design of the program is mainly for people who think they might be interested in continuing along the academic stream, so continuing into a master's or even a PhD of political science. And so it gives you your first, not your first, but it gives you a sustained, deep engagement with one research project over a long period of time. And so if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, then you might consider applying to our honors program as well. With that, I will turn it over to Amy.
Hi, thank you, Andrew. So it's so nice to see, well, some students. I haven't seen any of you for a long time, so I hope you're all doing well. So yeah, like Andrew said, my name is Amy Basir, and I'm the advisor here in the department. And I'm here to discuss kind of the more specific program requirements and the admission process. So just a quick overview, we have 5 major programs in the department plus a minor. So of course we have the major in political science. We have 2 honors programs. So we have the regular honors and then the PSIR, which is political science honors with international relations. IR doesn't have their own honors program. So if you do want to do an honors program in international relations, it's housed in the political science department. Then we have 2 combined majors, so poly economics and poly philosophy. So students applying for admissions to all the programs except the minor, they have to submit an application. Our application is open every year on February 15th, and it's open until May 15th. So you apply anytime during generally your 2nd year. And students often ask me, they're like, I'm not done my prerequisite yet. I won't be done and I won't have a mark until April. The point is you're supposed to apply and then we don't evaluate applications until after your term 2 marks are in. So generally speaking, your marks will be in. You can apply if you're taking summer courses as well. So if you have a prerequisite or 2 to finish up during the summer, we will basically, your application will be pending until you've successfully completed those courses, and we can evaluate you for the major. So I'll just briefly talk about the specific requirements for to be admitted into each program. So we'll start with the major. So to be accepted into the major, a student must complete a minimum of 54 credits total, so be in third year standing. And within those 54 credits, they have to have a minimum of 12 political science lower level credits. So those come from Poly 100, which is our intro class. I'm sure lots of you have taken almost all these classes, but anyways, Poly 100, 101, 110, and 240. And then you have to have a minimum GPA, which is determined by the department. So most years, students often ask me, they were like, what was last year's overall GPA for admission? So last year was a weird year. So I'll tell you, 2 years ago, the admission average was 65%. So generally speaking, it's around 65 to 70%. I suspect it'll be around 65% again next year, but we don't ever know until we have the applicant pool. So then we can figure out what the average for admission is. Yeah, so the honors program. So that's the regular major. So the honors program, students with an average of 80% or above are encouraged to consider applying. Its admission is based on your cumulative GPA, a personal statement of 250 words or more, and your resume. Students often ask, like, what do I write in my personal statement? I always tell students to avoid saying, I want to take political science to change the world, or I want to take political science to become a lawyer. Try and really demonstrate the application of the skills that you've learned in your lower level political science courses. Last year we had over 70 applications to the honors program, and we accepted 21 students. So we had a lot of qualified students. The statement does really matter because when we have a bunch of qualified students, it's really reading the statements to admit students. All right, so yeah, we typically admit around 16 to 20 students. Last year it was 21, so it was our biggest class ever. And there's two streams. So there's the political science honors and the political science with IR. So honors, the lower level requirements are the same as the regular major. So 100, 101, 110, and 240. For PSIR, they're 100, 101, 110, and then 260, plus an additional 200 level poly course. So that could either be 220 or 240. Then you have an econ requirement, 6 credits of econ, then you have history requirement, and you also have the big thing, which is 12 credits of language. And these 12 credits are in addition to the arts language requirements. So that's for the IR major, or sorry, honors. It's really a hybrid of the IR requirements and the political science requirements. So students who are considering that option, you just have to be really good planners because you're going to have a lot of requirements to pack in there. So you can always come see me and I can always help you with your timetable and everything like that. But it's definitely a very it's a fabulous program, so don't let me scare you by saying there's all those requirements. So for the combined majors, we have 2 programs. We have the Poly Economics and the Poly Philosophy. So for the Poly Econ, you have to be admissible to both the political science department and the econ department, and students must submit applications to both departments. So you do that, so you submit an application to us through our website, and then you also do that on the econ side of things. You have to be admissible to both programs, meaning the course, I think somebody mute themselves? Or is that me? No, it's not. So you have to be admissible to both programs. So usually econ has the higher requirement out of the two. So you have to be admissible to econ and political science. If you're not successful in econ, we can evaluate you just for political science. And then in that case, I would recommend that you pursue the poly major with the econ minor. So the other, and so the poli-sci with econ requirements are similar. They're poly 100, 101, 240 plus 3 credits from either poly 220 or 260. The only difference is poly 110 isn't a requirement because you're going to be, you know, seeing lots of that type of content from the econ side of things. So poly 110 is not a prerequisite for the poly econ combined major. And then our last program is the combined poly philosophy program. So unlike poly econ, you just submit one application to our department, and the poly prerequisites are the exact same as the regular poly prerequisite. So there's nothing specific for econ, or sorry, for philosophy. So I really suggest that you familiarize yourselves with the requirements. They're all on our website. You can also look on the UBC calendar, but also get familiar with Degree Navigator. I know right now you're in second year and it looks like just a big jumble of things, but once you have your actual degree in Degree Navigator, it's going to make a lot more sense. It's going to show you specifically what requirements you have to complete, and it's a live report. So whenever you add or drop a course, you can go back to Degree Navigator and see what you still have to complete for your specific degree requirements. So yeah, I recommend that you guys email me or you can always, we can set up a phone appointment if you prefer that. Normally I say just stop on by, but that's not an option right now. I wish it was. So yeah, those are the requirements. Please let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
I was trying to work the slide for you, and
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't click through the, there's just a point about the
Yes.
exclusion of 12 credits and stuff.
Yeah, so students often ask me, so the GPA is typically around 70%, 65, 70%, but you do have the ability to exclude some of your lowest credits. So we don't exclude any political science courses, but otherwise we can exclude up to 12 credits, but we have to keep 48 credits in our calculation. So if you have, like, often students think that they want to do, you know, math in first year, and that was a bad decision. So that's okay. I understand. I didn't do well in math either. So yeah, then we can drop that and try and get your GPA up to an admissible level. If you have fewer credits, like it says on the slide, than 54, at the conclusion of the year, you can have a pending acceptance to the major, but you'll still be in second year standing. So that's going to affect your registration date. So if you're in that situation, you want to contact me, and I can help you get into third year poli-sci courses. Otherwise, you're going to have a challenging time because unfortunately the second years are the last students to register. But always contact me if you have a question. There's usually a way to finesse things to get you in the courses you need, or the oh, what's Amy's email? Yeah, email me. So my email is poly.advising@ubc.ca. Yeah, so I guess, Andrew, are we opening it up for questions now, or?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So you can throw a question in the chat, or you could just start talking.
So the first question on the majors website, it says that for 2020 winter, students could apply with 2 credits, or two courses, so 6 credits. That was an accommodation for COVID. It's not going to be like that again this year. It's going to go back to our typical requirements. If you're short 3 credits, that's always something we can talk about one-on-one. So if you're in kind of a funny situation because of COVID, you're missing 3 credits, just come talk to me and we can probably find a solution for you. But yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, the requirements are going up to our usual requirements, not the COVID special requirements.
Yeah, and just to explain that a little further, so in, you know, for those of you that weren't in at UBC or at university at least, when everything went crazy in March and April, there was a couple things that the university did, including in the Faculty of Arts, students could get credit, which just means you passed the course, a D, which means you passed it with a D, or fail and no grade, and so and you were allowed to withdraw much later than you normally would be. So that's why we revised the prereqs then. Now it's back to normal, but again, if something in your life has prevented you from completing one of those prerequisites, you should get in touch with Amy, and you know, you could take it this summer. We'll figure something out. What about, so Amy, can you say about the timing of admissions, when people find out and if they can apply in the winter?
Okay, so we typically only admit students once a year in the summer. Of course, there's always interesting circumstances. Sometimes we have late transfer students. So generally speaking, we encourage most students to apply in our one window a year, but if it's a bizarre situation, you can definitely contact me and we can see if you would be admissible at another time. But yeah, the application opens February 15th and it closes May 15th. We evaluate applications and we give students an answer before registration starts. So registration, the actual date has kind of been bouncing around the last couple of years because, last year because of COVID. So we used to say we'll give you an answer by June 15th, but it might be earlier this year, depending on when registration is. So if you're not admissible, meaning if you have, if you're taking some courses over the summer, you get usually a pending acceptance. So in this case, you should act like you're accepted in the major, register for all your upper level courses, and then once you are finished your summer courses, then we'll evaluate your application, and then you're good to go. You need to be in third year standing to officially be entered into the major. So sometimes students, they have just 51 credits. Unfortunately, in that case, you will have to wait till the next year to apply, but that's fine. Lots of students are in that circumstance. Basically, you just act as if you're already a poly major, you keep those marks up, and you start chipping away at those 300 level requirements during your third year. So that's not an unusual situation to be in at all. I think students sometimes feel like, oh, it's just me in that particular circumstance. It's not. There's lots of students who, especially because COVID and online courses, and it's just kind of throwing a wrench into lots of people's plans. So just always, if you have something particular, just contact me and we can try and figure something out. Okay.
Amy, you and I can run this like a podcast or a TV show.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll ask the questions.
Yeah, okay.
Or first I'll start by trying to answer one of them.
Sure, okay.
So the statement, the personal statement is only for the honors program. It's not for the major. The major is just based.
Just for the honors program, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I was wrong. No, it's just for the honors program.
Just for the honors program.
Application is just based on your grades.
Yes.
And the grades are based on all the courses you've taken, excluding up to 12, but none of those can be poly, but it's not just on your poly credits. So somebody asked about, they're in first year. I think that you can't get admitted until you enter third year. So you're basically apply after your second year. I think maybe only psychology does second year admission in faculty of arts. Do you know? Yeah,
I think some minors do. You can put yourself into a minor before that, but yeah, generally speaking, you can't get into a major until your third year. And then arts advising won't let you continue in third year or register in third year unless you have a major. So you have to put yourself in something in third year.
Yeah, and so, if you aren't accepted, you can, you want to keep your options open for sure, and consider other majors that you may have some prerequisites for. You can try to continue taking poly courses and reapply, right, Amy, after third year. But that's a risky strategy. So if you were going to adopt it, I would say you should definitely meet with Amy virtually or.
Yeah, the other option is we do have the US Studies program. So you have access to a lot of our upper level courses, and there's no minimum GPA for that program. So sometimes students, they choose that as their program of choice because they can't be admitted into political science, and then they work like crazy and get those marks up, and then they're admissible the third year. Or some people just want to take US Studies. That's cool too. But yeah.
For the number, so we usually admit around 300 students to the major every year. So there's sort of 600 to 700 majors at one time because they're in third and fourth year. The vast majority of people that apply do get in, but the percentages vary year to year.
Yeah.
Amy, do you know about the political science IR honors, whether they do the 12 credit drop thing?
So yeah, students often ask me that if honors students, they can drop 12 credits. No, because we have so many qualified students that we don't even need to do that. So that, I mean, yes, theoretically we could, but we just have so many qualified students without having to drop any courses that it never usually comes to that.
But can I just interrupt? That
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
probably the case that like someone's reviewing every file. So
Exactly.
if you have great grades and you really messed up in French or in math, not messed up, but if you just had a bad run of French or math or whatever, then we're going to probably discount that as we go through it, but there's no formal recalculating.
Exactly. So they're evaluated by, so up till this year, we had a champion, an honors champion, Professor Johnston. He is just retired. So Professor Zhang will be reviewing applications this year. So it'll be his first round of reviewing applications. And basically, to have a successful honors application, we look at marks first and foremost, but the personal statement is really important. And you can include information like that. Like I had a bad run in French. All those details we want to know because we want to see students that are on, an upward trajectory. We'd rather see students that are, maybe first year wasn't as great, but they're really killing it in second year and they're going to do even better in third year. Like those are the students that we're interested in. That's what Professor Johnston always said. So,
and so two more narrow questions. Do they need to, if you apply for just say one of the poly programs, well, let's say the poly major and you're going to be short credits, do you need to note that on an application or anything, or is that?
Yeah, so last year if you were planning on taking summer courses, there would be a field for you to enter that information in. So you would enter that information into that field and we would know. You're not, like if you decide, it's kind of a little bit tricky in terms of timing, but say you have every intention of the world in taking a summer course and then when you go to actually register, it's full, or your summer plans change and you can't take a course that term and you have to take a course the other term. You're not stuck with those decisions by any means. It's just for us to get a general idea if you're taking summer courses. I can always also, I have access to that information, so I can always go and check myself to see what you're registered in. So it's just really for us to have a general idea of what you're considering for the summer. Does that make sense?
Yep. And so if you only have 45 credits, you can still apply even if you're going to finish them in the summer. We'll kind of just answer that. Yeah. Summer courses, great question. Amy?
Oh, what was the course? Sorry, what's the question?
When will we know about what courses are available this summer? And I can tell you this, we almost always offer all of the prerequisite courses in the summer. So unless there was some exceptional situation where we couldn't find an instructor, all of those prereqs would be available.
And if you're banking on taking Poly 100 in the summer because you haven't, and we say offer Poly 260 instead, we could definitely talk about a substitution or something like that because we're not offering Poly 100 and you thought we would be. But yes, usually by this point we do have an idea of what our summer courses are going to be. This year's different, obviously everything's different, so we don't yet. Usually summer courses are announced on January 15th. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. I really hope it does. So students can kind of plan their lives for the summer. That would be great, wouldn't it? And oh, what other questions do we have? If you transferred into UBC from a different school and you're in third year and your GPA calculated from your transfer, oh yeah, so your GPA is all of your post-secondary courses, not just your UBC ones, which is good news because students usually have high marks if they're transferring into UBC. And next question, what exactly does the personal statement ask for? So yeah, that's something, it's pretty general, it's pretty broad. I know that we have some kind of suggestions of what students can write about on our website. So Professor Johnston would say, what are some readings that really spark your interest? Or can you apply some theories that you're learning in political science? What really is, gives you excitement, like what are you really excited to study? But you want to, those things have to be really thought out, not just I want to change the world, or yeah.
For the record, you want to change the world, that's a good thing, and you might well want to apply to honors, but you want to be more precise.
Yeah, and we're going to assume that you want to change the world too. Okay. Do you have to apply for minors programs? Not in political science. I'm not sure about other minors programs, but not for poli-sci. I believe once you're in third year standing, you can automatically put yourself into the poly minor through SSC.
And what if I'm a second year student wanting to take a 300 level course in the summer?
Yeah, so you will be barred from registering in that, but I can help you register in that because you'll technically be in third year in the summer.
Second year, yeah.
Second year, but third year-ish, right. Okay.
Certainly, I think that one of the takeaways, just for anyone who's in first year or even second year and hasn't heard this enough, is like, there's so many resources and people across campus whose job it is to help students that you should never hesitate to reach out to someone and ask, like, I think a lot of us are under the assumption that like, oh, there's these formal rules and that's always the case, and it's your job to understand them. A lot of this stuff is really complicated. So send people an email and ask questions, and 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a helpful response.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Yeah, so you don't have to apply to the minors program. We talked about that.
No.
Okay, well, we'll wrap it up now. Before we do, I wanted to send it back to Alexandra to tell you about a little bit more about the PSSA.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Owen, Amy. So we just had some great events like the Canadian Undergraduate Policy Competition, and we just started I think our first model parliament and moot courts for the year. So our next event, and I think that's our last event for term 1, we have our Advance Your Careers workshop that discusses like transferable skills and career trajectories for students who've majored in poli-sci, and also like using digital platforms and networking. So this is on November 30th. So it's next week. It's the week after next week. And it's from 6 to 7:30 p.m. and it's open to all students. And you don't have to be a poly major to attend this workshop. So yeah, if you're interested and in the workshop and also hanging out with other poly students, then please attend. More information is available in our newsletter, which, as I said, is available if you just type in ubcpssa.com, then it'll like automatically take you to registering for the emails.
Thanks very much, Alexandra. And thanks to the PSSA, they're really helpful with a lot of stuff, like these events and others that like really make, I think, being a poly major a much more enriching and not just schooly experience. So that's great. So yeah, we'll wrap it up now. Amy and I'll stick around for a couple more minutes in case someone has a question they just want to ask one-on-one or whatever, relatively. But I appreciate you guys coming. If you have questions, you can email me. Just Google me and UBC. It's andrew.owen@UBC. And Amy's poly.advising@ubc.ca. If you have more questions, and have a good night. Go to your next Zoom experience.